Back to the College Corner today, previewing Michigan and Georgia in the college football playoff in the semifinal. Avery, do these coaches stick to their guns? One guy in Kirby Smart who's gotten real close to winning a national championship but hasn't been able to get it done, and then another who's yet to, hasn't been there in a long time and not at this program. Are they going to stick to their guns of running the football, or are we going to see something different?
Kirby Smart, I would trust to change more than Harbaugh would, 100%.
Yeah.
Harbaugh stuck to his guns over all these years, right? He took the pay cut to come back, have his guys, but his way is finally working in his head, right? So it's like, oh, my way, I've grinded. Why would I change now, especially in the biggest game that he's had outside of Ohio State in Michigan history, or in his history at Michigan State, or at Michigan, sorry. I don't think he changes at all. There's no way he changes.
He's got to prove what he's built and his approach to football is right. I do think so. Even though this is a difficult matchup, as hard as it gets for them, for sure. Yeah, offensively, the way they do it.
Very different than an Ohio State challenge.
Yes.
Obviously, neutral site, too, is a whole different ballgame. You're not dealing with any weather like you were before.
Do you remember before the Michigan-Ohio State game when it came up on the board, I don't know if it was Fox that was doing that game. I think it was. And it came up on the board that Michigan had won this many of the last this many. It was a positive stat about playing Ohio State at the Big House. They were actually pretty good.
Really?
But if you actually look at on the road, they haven't won in like years upon years. So this is definitely important to keep in mind too. Definitely agree. Betting line though, Georgia -7.5. Obviously, the sports books see this as Georgia having a significant advantage in terms of their matchup, how Michigan plays offensively, and then how good Georgia's been defensively. Total's very low as well. Not expecting a lot of points, 44.5. The public loves Michigan. I am thinking that there is a lot of recency bias between these two teams when it comes to the spread. We're betting the spread.
I'm the same way. I like Georgia a lot in this game. We look at it, strength of schedule, Michigan's 4th, Georgia 2nd, total offense, Michigan 14th, Georgia 25th, and then total defense, Michigan 10th, and Georgia 2nd. Yeah. Pretty decent matchup here, but Vegas is saying something with this line.
Yeah. I think it's because I can completely understand and see why people are getting on the dog here, but whenever you see stuff like this, that is a proceed with caution from here, usually an avoid altogether, maybe even bet the other side. Backing a very public dog does not work out a lot of the time, I would say. But let's get into, we'll start with when the Michigan offense is on the field, then we'll get to when Georgia has the ball, and ultimately wrap things up with what we're going to be betting for this game. So again, the Orange Bowl, Michigan and Georgia. When Michigan has the ball, we said it before with Jim's style of play, they're running the ball almost 60% of plays.
Yeah.
Like this offensive line has been really, really, really good for Michigan. We saw it against Ohio State. 10.9% of rush attempts are tackled behind the line of scrimmage. That is a very minuscule amount. They're 3rd in the country in that category. But again, going up against a Georgia defensive line that's amongst maybe the best people are talking about of all time.
Yeah, this season, rush play percentage against the Georgia defense, 47%.
Yeah,
so teams aren't running the ball. Yeah. And they're rushing for 2.7 yards per rush, 3rd in the country.
So thought in my head here is, so they love to run the ball. 2.7 yards a carry. I also see a stat here. These are a couple stats that I really like from the run side. Georgia's outside the top 40 in stuff rate and power success rate. So stuff rate is the percentage of rushing attempts from the opponent that get past the line of scrimmage or lose yardage. Or don't make it to the line of scrimmage, lose yardage, or don't get past the line of scrimmage. The other power success rate basically is 3rd or 4th down with 3 or less yards to go. So Georgia's not really a top unit in these categories, which is interesting. These are like the short yardage situations. So Jim could see it as, well, if I run the ball 4 times, 2.7 times 4 is more than 10 first down.
Math guy, Michigan brain.
So he could just continue to run the ball, even though, and they really haven't seen the run because Georgia's been killing everybody. Yeah. They're giving up less than 10 points a game.
I mean, they have 2 good backs, Haskins and Corum. Switch it up. Even if you put McCarthy in there, I've said to you before this, I said,
let's talk about
they
that.
need to not play him. Obviously, he's electric. He's the quarterback of the future there. They have done their part to keep him around the program. They've played him enough.
It's always important, yeah.
They had the huge run against Iowa, right? But you saw it in the Michigan State game when they played Michigan State.
Yeah,
the fumble, and there's almost a pick. He wasn't there for that game. Maybe not his best effort, but I think you stick with Cade McNamara here and just run it through him.
Do you think this is the case, though, of Jim also not changing what he does even in this part too, because JJ does provide that
something different.
Something different. Like he gets on the field, you probably expect some sort of run pass option, and if he throws the ball, then you might catch the defense by surprise. So that's always. That's probably what Jim's thought.
I don't think you need a change of pace quarterback in college football. Yeah. Like it's fine to have as running backs, but save them for next year.
One thing I am worried about, I said this to you earlier, is that Michigan kind of falls asleep or gets into a bit of a rut, stalls in the mid parts of the games. So in 3 of their last 4, the other one is the Indiana game where they scored 1 billion points, but they've had a stretch of 3+ possessions, at least 3 possessions in a row, where the drive has either ended in a turnover or punt. So they get into these spots where they're kind of stalling, doing nothing, and this is the type of thing that Georgia can really take advantage of. So there's a stat called busted drive rate. Basically what it is the percentage of opponent drives that result in 0 or negative yards. They're first in that category. And then there's also a stat for first down rate. So basically what it means is drives that result in at least 1 first down. Defensively, Georgia's first. So this could go from like a run of a couple drives and end up in like 6 drives where they're just not moving the ball whatsoever because this Georgia defense is so good. So that's my biggest worry about them, is if they get into where they're stalling for a little portion of this game and Georgia pulls away.
I also think the recency bias of facing, we didn't think Alabama was as good as they are, right?
Yeah.
And this Georgia defense is very good, but you see them get cut up a couple weeks ago, and then you see Michigan beat an Ohio State team. I think the perception flipped on these teams where we had kind of figured them out over the whole season. Why did we change based on one week?
Game. Yeah,
right?
Completely agree. Yeah, completely agree.
I don't think we should obviously it needs to hold some weight, but I don't think it should hold as much weight as it is right now.
Yeah, well, at least with the general public. I mean, Michigan also just doesn't have that like Jamison Williams type player.
No.
They lost Ronnie Bell the first game of the season. Cornelius Johnson's been their top option. I mean, they could opt to put the ball in the air. McNamara's been really well protected. Sack rate is just 2.7%
really
offensively. Really, really good. So do they try to put the ball in the air against this Georgia team? Because, I mean, we saw the pace that Alabama came at Georgia with. And Jordan Davis, the guy everyone's talking about, felt like he was barely on the field. The guy couldn't handle a little bit too much pace, or else he was like, I need some water, get me out of this game. So it's an interesting way that they could go about it. They have options for sure.
I think one of the main things in a game like this where teams are so evenly matched, it's the turnover battle. Mm-hmm. The team who wins the turnover battle should win this game. Yeah. Also penalties, these teams average about 5 penalties against them a game. Yeah, that's not a lot. They're very, very similar teams.
I think, like you said, though, I think this is Jim going to stick to his guns, though. And it could be something that just hurts him.
Most of the time it has hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's talk a bit about Georgia, the offense with Stetson Bennett at quarterback. How does Georgia approach this game? Are they someone that, like you said, you think Kirby might make some adjustments? But, I mean, at the end of the day, they're kind of a bowling ball offensively this season. They've been even that Alabama game, they still moved the ball. There were a couple of turnovers that I thought were bad luck for Stetson Bennett. Yeah. There was a tip at the line of scrimmage, one that went through the receiver's hands. So I think they can still kind of do their thing offensively.
They only passed the ball 42% of the plays. Yeah. One of the things here, I think Stetson Bennett, he's an underrated runner. I think people say that on the broadcast probably every time they play, but he has the ability to get out of the pocket and make plays with his feet. Yeah. And I think with a good D-line from Michigan, you're going to have Aiden Hutchinson just bull rushing people and getting to the quarterback. His ability to make plays with his feet are going to help this team, I think, a lot.
Yeah, I agree. There's a passing down sack rate. So passing downs are basically where it's, I believe it's second and 8 or longer. No, second and 10 or longer, and then third and 8 or longer. Is passing down sack rate, and the sack rate is just 1.4% for the Georgia offense. So even when they're in these obvious passing situations, they're not giving up sacks, and that's pretty surprising and a very good thing when you're going up against Hutchinson and Ajabo, who in obvious passing situations, if they know they get to set up on the edge and get after you, then it can be tough to stop, but they've proven to be able to do it. So I do think that 6.8 yards per play, we saw a bad performance from them, obviously, in the SEC championship game, but this offense is still really, really good all around.
Yeah, I think so too. They're 5th in the country at yards per pass. So when they do pass the ball, they are pretty efficient. George Pickens is back. He is a electric receiver. He should be able to open things up for other parts of the game. Maybe he's not a huge part catching the ball, but just his presence there is a big thing for the defense to look at as a guy coming back from an injury.
we talked about this on the last episode, but this is a chance for, with all this time, Pickens came back. They didn't really use him a lot. He did get involved a little bit.
3 catches in 2 games.
So does this time off give him a real chance to like get back to that level of play we saw from him? Like this guy's played in a national championship, right?
Yeah.
Like he's been around for a while. If he can get back into where he's been before, then that really helps them out in terms of being able to throw the ball. Because Brock Bowers, the tight end, looks like a complete and utter stud.
Yes.
So it'd be a good
one of the skinnier tight ends, but he can fucking run.
Yeah. Weird tight end profile, that's for sure. Another thing I'm looking at is Samir White and James Cook. Obviously, like you said, they're not throwing the ball much. So those are the 2 backs that they're going with. These guys will be really important in picking up yards at the second level because
they're downhill like skill backs getting down the field.
Right, and Bennett's been really I think he needs to be able to rely on the run game a bit more because against Alabama they couldn't move the ball on the ground. So they asked Bennett to throw the ball a bit. He pushed the ball into some tight windows, and we saw some of the results there. But Michigan, 109th in that stuff rate metric I mentioned earlier defensively, so they haven't been good at getting tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And then Georgia offensive line doesn't really give that up, 6th in the country in stuff rate. So I think the Georgia front will win a good amount running the ball, and then if they can break some big plays with Samir White and James Cook, then I think it'll be tough for Michigan to stop them. So I do think that Georgia will be able to kind of have their way offensively, just with Ajabo and Hutchinson being on the edge. These are guys that have made a lot of plays like in passing situations, but how good are they going to be against the run?
Yeah, we'll have to see that. It's just, I think, based on feel, not numbers here, Michigan is riding a wave, right? If Georgia can score early in this game, Michigan just falls back into a shell of what they are, right? If they're
not built to come back. That's
no,
for
if
sure.
you keep them in the game, it's only bad for Georgia. So I think you get a score early. Hey, you get the ball to start off, maybe even a field goal, not a touchdown on the first drive, but just points to start the game. Michigan backseat right away.
Yeah, that'll be huge for sure.
Well, both these teams aren't really meant to come from behind, right?
No. And we with Georgia, we've only seen it once this year, right? Like the entire conversation all season was, what if Georgia faces adversity? What if Georgia falls behind in the game? What do they look like? And they didn't look particularly good against Alabama. Yeah. So that's why we're here in this 2-3 game, and they're seem to be a team that not a lot of people want to get behind right now, which is surprising because there was talk of this being one of the best teams
of all time,
which is crazy. Give me final score. What do you think final score is?
I think we get 21-10.
Yeah, I was thinking 24-13.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm thinking low scoring. I'm thinking still under the total. The only thing I'm betting, though, I think is going to be Georgia minus 7.5 because I think they control this game.
I'm on that with you, too. It makes sense to me. I don't think we should have flipped our perception as much as we did.
Yeah, exactly.
One weekend.
Avery likes both the favorites. Hopefully you checked out the last video with the other semifinal preview. Avery does like the favorites.
It's usually not who I am. I like going some dogs. College football, maybe I'm a favorites guy though.
And I think we'd all love to see a rematch between these 2 teams.
I think it goes a lot differently.
Yeah. I think this Georgia team is going to get right back on track here and be ready to roll. Kirby Smart looking for that national title. All right, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm sure we'll have a national championship preview as well. But hopefully we helped you out here, gave you some good information. And thank you guys for watching.
Appreciate it.